He prays, he fasts, he quotes hadith. On the surface, he seems like the answer to every dua you've ever made. But behind closed doors, he lies. He manipulates. He tears you down quietly. Just because someone appears religious doesn't mean they're safe to build a life with. And just because a man speaks of Deen doesn't mean he lives it. So you defend him to your friends. You tell yourself, nobody's perfect. But in the silent corners of your soul, a voice whispers what your lips won't admit. You were made for more. And maybe, just maybe, that voice isn't your ego. Maybe it's Allah gently guiding you away from something that could damage your soul. Because Islam doesn't just guide you on who to marry. It teaches you who to guard your heart from. This message isn't meant to judge or shame anyone. And it's certainly not meant for entertainment. It's for the many sincere women out there. Women who love Allah, who long to build a faith-filled home, who end up confused, hurt, or shattered. Not because they were lacking, but because no one warned them. So before you say yes, before you brush aside one more red flag, let's talk. These are the 7 types of men you should never marry, no matter how religious they appear to be. Don't scroll, don't skip, because what you're about to hear could protect your heart from the wrong one and guide it to the one meant for you. Bismillah. Let's begin. Type 1. The man who uses religion to control you. He says it's your Islamic duty to obey him. He brings up hadiths about a wife's obligations. He reminds you that he's your qawwam, your protector and guardian. And while that role does exist in Islam, what many forget is that power in our faith isn't about control. It's about responsibility. The Prophet Muhammad was the best leader and yet the gentlest of husbands. He never raised his voice at his wives. He never embarrassed them. He never demanded blind obedience to prove his authority. So if a man uses his role to silence you, scare you, or twist religious teachings to suit his ego, that's not leadership. It's manipulation. Yes, Islam gives him the right to set certain boundaries, but it commands that he does so with wisdom, compassion, and fairness. If his advice comes from genuine care, delivered kindly, that's leadership. But if it feels harsh, suffocating, or ego-driven, that's not protection, it's control. A man like this won't help you grow. He'll make you shrink. He won't draw you nearer to Allah. He'll push you into fear, anxiety, and self-doubt. You'll begin to wonder, am I a bad wife because I don't feel heard? Is marriage supposed to feel this fragile? Sister, know this. In Islam, obedience flows from love, not fear. A wife's respect is a noble act of worship, but never meant to be forced, manipulated, or used as a weapon. The Prophet said, "The best of you are the best to their wives, not the loudest, not the most controlling, not the one who wins every argument." And when he saw something wrong in his home, he corrected it with wisdom, never yelling, never guilt-tripping, never abusing emotionally. So if his version of Islam leaves you feeling invisible or ashamed, that's not religion. That's ego in Islamic clothing. Let them say you're disobedient. Let them call you sensitive. But no, the woman who knows her worth with Allah cannot be controlled by a man whose only power comes from fear. The man who truly fears Allah will guide with mercy, not dominance. He will raise your iman, not just his voice. May Allah protect every woman from men who twist the truth and guide her to the one who walks it. Type 2. The man who looks religious, but is full of pride. He wears the thobe, he has the beard, he speaks about Islam eloquently, he knows hadith, quotes the Quran, maybe even teaches it. But when it comes to humility, he fails. He walks with arrogance. He speaks down to others. He offers correction, not out of sincerity, but to feel superior. And if you ever respectfully disagree, he treats it like an attack on the Deen itself. This is the man who knows the religion, but has forgotten the character that should come with it. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Whoever humbles himself for Allah, Allah raises him." Be cautious, because pride doesn't always look like shouting. Sometimes it's hidden in calm words that belittle you. He'll tell you to improve your Deen, yet rarely reflects on his own flaws. He'll remind you of your duties. But overlook that kindness is a duty too. He'll say, "I'm just advising," but his advice doesn't uplift, it crushes. A man of taqwa doesn't need to prove his piety. His behavior will show it before his tongue ever does. If you constantly second-guess yourself around him, not because you're wrong, but because he makes you feel lesser, that's not a home. It's a stage for his ego. Yes, men struggle too. A good man isn't perfect. He slips, but he repents. That's not what we're talking about here. This is about pride disguised as piety. A man who wants a wife, but not accountability. The Prophet, who had every reason to be proud, still remained humble. He helped with household chores. He listened to his wives. He accepted correction. If a man can't even accept gentle advice, he's not ready to lead a home. Marriage isn't about finding a scholar. It's about building a life with someone who embodies the teachings they speak of. It's not just about marrying someone who talks about Islam. It's about marrying someone whose character reflects the very values he teaches. Before you get swept away by the surface, the beard, the dawah, the social media presence, pause and ask yourself, how does he treat people who can offer him nothing? Does he accept correction when he's wrong? Does he make others feel respected or belittled? Because if the only time he's gentle is when there's an audience, that gentleness is a performance, not who he really is. And the loneliest kind of marriage is one where you share a home with someone who speaks of mercy but lives with arrogance. He may follow rituals, dress the part, and know the right words, but his heart has never truly surrendered to Allah. So ask yourself, will you choose the image or the substance? Will you marry the appearance of piety or a heart rooted in sincerity? Because a man can look like he fears Allah, but when no one's watching, his mercy vanishes. Don't just ask what he says about Islam. Ask how he makes people feel, especially the vulnerable. Because the most dangerous disguise is a religious one, worn for the world, but never for Allah. Type 3, the man who is emotionally distant. Yes, he provides. He pays the bills. He's present in the house. But emotionally, he's nowhere to be found. You open up to him, try to explain what's hurting you, cry in front of him hoping for comfort, and he shuts down, or worse, shuts you out. He dismisses your pain. He tells you you're too sensitive. He sighs, changes the subject, or just walks away. To him, emotions are inconvenient. Vulnerability is weakness, and your emotional needs feel like a burden to him. You start to feel like asking for connection is asking too much, but it's not. You're not asking for luxury. You're asking for emotional presence. This man may never raise his voice, but his absence wounds you in silence. Marriage is meant to be a safe space for hearts to rest, a place where love is not only heard, but felt. But when you're with someone who constantly shuts down, it begins to feel like you're alone, living with someone who is there in body, but not in heart. Let's pause here. Because men carry invisible weights too. Pressures from work, finances, and the heavy role of being a provider. Islam acknowledges this responsibility. Providing, protecting, leading. It's not easy. But true leadership in Islam isn't about locking your emotions away. It's about opening your heart with compassion. The Prophet Muhammad listened. When Aisha, R.A., was upset, he didn't dismiss her. He noticed, he cared. He waited for her to speak. He validated her emotions. Sometimes, being emotionally present means nothing more than listening, being near, holding space. If your sadness makes him scroll through his phone, if he sees your tears as annoying rather than meaningful, that's not stoicism. That's emotional cruelty dressed as calmness. And it doesn't break you all at once. It chips away at you, moment by moment, until you go silent. Ask yourself, do I feel heard when I speak? Does he notice when I go quiet? Or does he only care when I disobey? Emotional neglect is rarely loud. It often wears the mask of peace. But beneath it is a woman grieving the intimacy she never received. The hardest part? Lying next to someone every night, but feeling like you are not allowed to need them. Don't choose the man who's physically present, but absent from your heart. Type 4. The man who is obsessed with control, not compassion. You don't need to go out. Stop talking to them. Why do you need anyone else when you have me? At first, it feels like care, even protective. But over time, your world grows smaller, until one day you realize you're not being loved. You're being controlled. This isn't Islamic leadership. It's possessiveness pretending to be protection. Yes, Islam grants men certain roles, but it also holds them accountable. A husband isn't meant to rule over his wife. He is meant to be her guide, her support, her tranquility. The Prophet led with compassion, not with control or surveillance. But this man crosses lines, not because he wants to uphold faith, but because he wants to feel powerful. Yes, he can offer guidance. Yes, he can express concerns with wisdom and care. But when his tone turns harsh, when he polices your every move, when suspicion replaces sincerity, that's not love. That's domination. And you'll start noticing. You don't laugh as often. You second-guess your words. You feel a knot in your stomach when your phone lights up. Still, he says, I'm doing what's best for you. But love doesn't shrink you. It doesn't erase your voice. Ask yourself, do I feel free to be myself? Do I feel guided or guarded like a possession? Real love doesn't isolate you. It opens you up. True qawwama is about carrying responsibility, not using religious phrases to silence a woman's soul. If his love demands silence, fear, or total surrender to his moods, that's not protection, that's possession. And the only thing more dangerous than a man who shouts is a man who quietly steals your freedom. With a smile. Type 5. The man who lies and cheats. It starts small. He hides a message, ignores a call, tells a story that feels just a bit off. You give him the benefit of the doubt. Once, twice, until it becomes a pattern. And you realize you're not trusting him anymore. You're just lying to yourself. He cheats carefully, just far enough to make you feel paranoid for even asking. And when you confront him, he flips the blame. You're too insecure. You're imagining things. But behind that calm exterior, behind the phone he keeps turned down, is a trail of betrayal he thinks Allah won't see. Let's be clear. Islam doesn't only forbid zina. It forbids dishonesty. It forbids betraying trust. It forbids making a woman doubt her own worth because of one man's secret sins. The Prophet said, There is no faith in the one who can't be trusted, and no religion in the one who doesn't keep his promises. A man who lies easily doesn't worship Allah. He worships his desires. Marriage is a sacred agreement built on trust. And whether the betrayal is emotional, physical, or digital. Once trust is broken, the foundation begins to crack. He may still pray. He may still give dawah. He may even say, "I'm trying." But a man who truly fears Allah won't play games with your heart in private while pretending to be righteous in public. Allah doesn't cover up his sins. He calls his servants away from them. A sincere man doesn't justify his wrongs. He turns back in repentance. Don't be blinded by charm. Shaitan too had charm, until pride became his downfall. Let's speak honestly. Yes, men are tested by their desires, especially in an age where temptation is everywhere. But Islam never gave men permission to sin in secret while appearing righteous in public. So, if you find yourself constantly doubting his faithfulness, if his gaze wanders but his phone stays locked, it's not paranoia. It's your intuition warning you. Ask yourself, is he truthful even when the truth is uncomfortable? Does he fear hurting you, or only fear being exposed? A man who betrays once without genuine remorse can do it again. And a man who lies without hesitation will lie about anything. A marriage without trust isn't a sanctuary. It becomes quiet torment. No woman deserves to give her soul to someone who toys with it behind her back. So before you excuse the warning signs, remember, the deepest betrayal isn't between spouses. It's between the soul and its creator. If a man can commit betrayal in secret while saying wallahi, that's not someone who will protect your heart. That's someone who's already surrendered his own. Number 6, the man bound by destructive habits. He doesn't scream. He doesn't strike. He says he loves you. But just when things feel stable, he slips away again. He vanishes for hours. He lies about his whereabouts. His money disappears. His promises dissolve. You want to believe him. Part of you does. Because he's not cruel. He's hurting. He's trying. But here's the truth few will say. Love can't fix what only God consciousness can. When a man is ensnared by addiction, be it gambling, alcohol, drugs, or secret sins, your love alone isn't enough to pull him out. Only Allah can transform hearts, and addiction doesn't just harm the addict. It shatters those who love him most. You'll find yourself covering for him, lying on his behalf, crying yourself to sleep, praying relentlessly, then blaming yourself when nothing changes. But Islam teaches, do not destroy yourselves with your own hands, but do good. Indeed, Allah loves those who do good. If a man is drowning in sin and refuses to rise, he will eventually drag you down, no matter your love. Yes, Islam honors patience. But patience doesn't mean self-destruction. Sabur isn't staying quiet while your world falls apart in silence. Let's be real. Many men turn to addiction not out of evil, but from a place of brokenness, pain, or emptiness. But a man who truly fears Allah won't hide behind your love. He'll seek help. He won't destroy you in the process of destroying himself. If he says, I can stop whenever I want, or I'll change once we're married, or it's just temporary, don't let hope cloud your judgment. Because the man who clings to haram before marriage rarely surrenders it after. Ask yourself, can I build a home on a cracked foundation? Am I saving him or slowly losing myself? Islam doesn't require perfection in a spouse, but it forbids allowing someone to lead you into darkness while claiming to love the light. So before you give your heart to someone lost in addiction, remember, you were meant to be a wife, not a rehabilitation center. Number 7, the man who shines only in public. He smiles warmly at the imam. He holds open the door at the masjid. He posts verses of the Quran online. And to the outside world, he's seen as the ideal Muslim man. But when the crowd leaves and the lights go off, so does his gentleness. He never raises his voice in public, but at home, it echoes through the walls. He's kind to strangers, but to you, he's silent. He prays long prayers at night, but turns away when you cry in the kitchen. This is the man who perfected outward piety, but neglected inward character. The Prophet Muhammad wasn't just devout in public, he was tender behind closed doors. His wives felt heard, respected, safe. There was no dual version of him. His mercy didn't vanish in private. So beware of the man who sweet-talks the world, but never speaks kindly to you. Marriage isn't measured by how a man acts in public, but by who he is when only Allah sees. And the scariest part of marrying such a man is this. When you cry for help, no one believes you. Because in the public eye, he's soft-spoken, charming, religious. But Allah sees both sides, and Allah's justice isn't fooled by presentation. Don't marry a man for his eloquence on stage. Don't choose based on praise from others. Choose based on how he makes you feel when no one's watching. Because a man who performs Islam outwardly, but neglects its spirit in private, will expect you to fake a smile while he withholds the love that Islam requires of him. That's not a husband. That's a performer. Marriage in Islam is sacred. It's a covenant not only between two people, but with Allah. It should be a home built on mercy, compassion, and mutual growth.